So we want that wide path to cover as much water as we can.
Even on our deep rods, let's say we're running a 2 or 3 ounce inline. Sometimes we'll just put a boat rod down right off the corner, kind of like a bottom bouncer, you know, running a certain depth down. Sometimes they want that surge in that boat. They just want that harness, you know, pulling forward and then the boat surging and dropping back, and pulling forward, dropping back. Usually if it's about 2 to 3 foot chop out there, what we'll start off doing is we'll run, sometimes anyways, half the boat on inlines like we got here. If that's not the case, we'll run half on inlines and half of them on snap weights. We'll get the snap weight, we'll get that surge out of the equation to see if, first off, let's see if the bite changes, or if it did die, why it died. Maybe they don't want that surge anymore. So the only way to find out is you know, just like we just said. Everybody might know about snap weights. You know, you usually run a 30, 40, 50 foot lead. Put your snap weight on. Whatever depth you want, just like always, this depth is geared toward from the board to the weight. Put them out there and see if the surge goes away, because it will, because you got such a long lead. See if the fish want that instead. A couple of things we do, if that's the case, is we'll take the snap off here, put a ball bearing snap on there, just to get rid of any kind of line twist you got to worry about. And that's the other reason we run the 17 to 20 pound test fluorocarbon. It's good and stiff. You don't have to worry about it spinning up on you.
Questions on that?
How much depth variation would there be between like a size 8 blade and a size 6 blade if you was running 1.2?
That's a great question.
If you got it, I mean, my theory when I'm out there is keep it simple. As long as I don't know the answer to that. Okay, but keep it above them no matter what.
Right. So I don't worry. What I was going to say was I don't worry about that too much. There is a difference, because that 8 is going to drag more than the 6, and so it's going to cause more friction in essence, and it's going to cause it to rise a little bit in the water column. I don't think, for the majority of what we do, I don't think it's enough that if I'm catching them, say I'm catching them on a 30-foot lead with a 6, I'm going to run that 8 on a 30-foot lead, because I'd rather it be, say it's 2 foot higher. I'm okay with that. I don't mind it being above them 2 more foot. Now, if they won't, say I switch to it and they won't eat it on a 30-foot, then maybe I'll go to a 32 or a 34. But typically, I don't find that I don't think it's enough extra change in the depth that you normally have to adjust for it. But it does change it, there's no doubt. I mean, it does bring it up some. I've not gone to a sand bottom and played with it enough to know what that percentage is.
Can I add on to that?
Yeah.
At 1 mile an hour, there's not a lot of difference. I've played with it.
Okay.
At 2 miles an hour, there's a huge difference with that 8 blade versus the 6 or 4.
Okay.
At 1 mile an hour and less, there's very little difference. It's almost all controlled by your weight.
Okay. A few years ago, oh, sorry, go ahead, sir.
I wanted to get back to the snap weights for a second.
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand why you went to a snap weight versus an inline. And
Okay, when you're
can
pulling,
you do that real quick?
when you're pulling in lines,
Yeah.
the weight is 6 feet in front of the lure.
Yeah.
Okay? So when that boat surges and goes back, you got an immediate reaction to this because it's only 6 feet in front of it.
Okay.
It's either
So you're running the snap lines on a longer lead.
yes, like 50 foot.
All right.
That way you don't get that. And sometimes they want that surge, sometimes they don't. And that's where the 2 different techniques come into play.
Okay.
When they want that lure going along, then all of a sudden a quick jerk, then the inline's the way to go. When they just want a more steady pull, then that's when the snap weight.
Okay, I got you.
And typically, if it's one foot or less, we don't. Maybe we should, but we don't typically run snap weights. It's only when it gets rough that we start running snap weights.
And are you a lot of vertical action too? If you talk
Yes.
big waves.
Yes. Yeah. When I'm sorry, I should have been clear on that. Yeah, when I'm saying pull forward, along with that is pull forward and it's coming up
Right.
with this versus a snap weight. That makes sense?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
with you now.
Okay. Other questions? Yeah.
How much time do you allot yourself between changing rigs, saying this isn't working and then going to something else?
Kind of depends on how much pressure's on us. We're down to the last half hour, we're working our butts off changing rigs.
It really depends on the day, depends on what the fish finder is showing at the time. You know, if we're marking fish and it looks like it did yesterday and the day before and the day before and we are catching, and the screen looks identical, and we're saying that they're not going but they should be, then we're changing a little more frequently. If it's just been a tough bite and it's, you know, we've got certain colors that have been working, we'll tend to give those colors longer in that scenario. It really, there is no set rule. A lot of it comes down to gut feeling, and you know, you just sometimes you get that we need to change, and other times you get the feeling that we just got to ride it out and they're going to go. There is no. I wish there was an easy answer for that one, because we get asked that. Probably Travis had his one question that he gets asked every time. That one we get asked a ton also. And you just sort of develop a feel for it.
When you're tying your harnesses up, I've seen different variations of 3 hooks for your harness itself versus 2 hooks. Your distance between your top hook and your bottom hook, or possibly using a treble hook for your end hook. Is there, you know, a better method that you guys like to use? Or
well, we sort of disagree on this one a little bit. I typically run, this is 2 single hooks. This is actually one that Dan tied up, and the hooks are a little closer than I would normally run. I probably run close to 4 inches in between my hooks, and I almost always run 2 single hooks. Dan?
Me on the other side. I do quite a few of them, just 2 octopus hooks. But lately I've been running an octopus on the front and a treble on the back. If I'm over eastern end of the lake, usually I'll run like a one octopus on the front, you know. Then on the back side, maybe like a size 6 treble hook. This side of the lake, I'll usually run like a 2 on the front and maybe an 8 treble hook on the back. Everybody's, you know, what's better, this one or that one. I think it all depends on what the fish are doing also. If the fish are aggressive, it don't matter. They're going to inhale it, they're going to catch it, they're going to take off, you're going to get them. But we can't afford to miss bites, so we still do.
So again, we usually start my side with 2 singles, his with a treble a lot of times. If we find that for whatever reason, the way the fish are hitting the bait on any given day, one is working better, we'll start switching them over. If I'm missing fish on my side, you know, they're hitting, we're seeing them, and we can't get them in, and he's not, we'll switch my side to trebles and vice versa. There's probably, I don't know, that doesn't happen often. I'd say 80